How do you get on tour?
So I went to university in the States, did my 4 years, and kind of at that time I knew that's what I wanted to do, turn pro. And what you have to do is go to Q school. So you enter, pay a lot of money, go out to La Manga, and it's 2 stages. So you play first stage, cut, then get through to final stage. So there's about 200 or so people over north and south, play 5 rounds, cut to the top 60, and they go to final stage. And then the final pool is made up of girls that might not kept their card the previous year, and then the ones that have gone through the initial stages of qualifying. So I did that in 2012 in the January. So got my tour card.
First time?
First time, yeah.
Well done.
One and done as well. Didn't have to go back yet. So.
Fantastic. So where did you finish? What's the...
Well, actually, so the top, it was 25 no ties when I played it. So I was actually in a playoff with 7 other people for the card.
Oh.
So I played even more holes through it, yeah. So got tour card. I think I played 14 events my first year. I had enough points, stay in the top 80 to get my full card for the next. So from there, once you're in that top kind of, you could then progress into more tournaments. So you play the more limited field events. Because if we're co-sanctioned with another tournament, we usually only get 70 or 80 spots. Okay. So they're a bit harder to get into. Yeah.
And when you were qualifying, did you have a caddy or did you just do
yourself? So a guy,
so
Chris Hattersley, he was the assistant pro at East Harts. Okay. And I just played a lot of golf with him and Dan Field over there, and he was like, I'll come do it. So off we went to La Manga, yeah.
And obviously it worked out well.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Does he still do any caddy?
No, he teaches now.
Does he?
Yeah, so he did his PGA and teaches. So he just came out and did a few events for me that first year after qualifying. Yeah. And then one of Dan's other assistants a couple of years later, another Chris, he came out and he caddied for me for a couple of years, yeah. Gotcha. So. And
when did you go to no, we'll come back to that about the worst caddy, because that's got to be PTA's.
Well, PTA's when he had his hernia and he was crying on the way round.
We'll come back to that so we can edit it in properly. Okay. So first early years of tour then, to explain.
Yeah, early years of tour. So yeah, that first year, 2012, I think I had a couple. I had my first, I think top 10 was Austria, and then that kind of secured enough points for me to know next year that I'll have my full card, and then you can plan a bit more. But yeah, the schedule. When I was young, I just played everything. Stayed away from home for weeks. We go to Australia for 7-8 weeks, play pro-ams in the middle, play tournaments, go off to Asia after it. So,
when you're younger and you haven't had so much experience, were you very nervous?
Yeah, but I feel like through golf I was always nervous. I feel like whatever you're playing you're always nervous because it's kind of a first time for everything. So. Yeah. It never changes. Like I'm still nervous now.
So it's nervous, but it doesn't sort of. Because there are some players that it really does.
Yeah, as a rookie, everything's new, so it's half excitement as well as nerves. Yeah. But I feel like as you get older and play more, it never goes. You actually tend to get a bit more anxious. Expectations are higher, so you build things up a lot more. Whereas when it's new, your expectations are fairly low, and you're just out there trying to have a good time.
Yeah, no, I get that. There's also, I suppose, a time scale because you've got a duration. So when you're new, you're here. Yeah. And you think I'm going to be playing forever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, at some
stage, you're trying to get out of bed, and you're like,
10 years. Yeah, you think you make it, but then you think, well, I've probably got 5 years or 10 years, and it becomes.
Yeah, there's no real timeline. Everyone's different. There's people on the tour that are playing in their 40s still now. Liz Young.
40s.
But that's being on tour for over 20 years. Yeah. So that's being on the road for 30 plus weeks a year, travelling at the expenses of 40 to 50 grand a year. So if you've not got sponsors, then it goes on that stuff as well. So as a professional golfer, all the expenses are your own. So you pay to enter the tournament, you make your own way there. All of that is yourself. So flights, accommodation.
Can we just break it down so I understand it? So
entry
the Australian one you've just been to.
So entry fee for each tournament is €125. So you enter that. Yeah. Your flight to Australia, £1,500. So that flight, rent a car for 3 weeks, £600, and then you've got somewhere to stay. So accommodation, a couple £100 each week. If you choose to take a caddy, that would be £800 to £900 a week. Yeah. And then they're on a percentage as well. So depending on how well you play, the better you play, the more money they then make.
And so we went to Australia for 2 tournaments.
I went for 3 weeks, but the first one got cancelled. Yeah, there was a cyclone, so we decided to leave. Well, yeah, the government shut it down. So I arrived there on Sunday. Monday played a 9-hole practice round, but by 9 p.m. on the Monday, we were advised that we'd have to evacuate the area by tomorrow. So,
were they right?
Yeah, they were right. Yeah, they had a metre of rain in 48 hours. Yeah,
that'd do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even Jodie would be scratching.
I know. It'd still be looking that weather gauge though, wouldn't he? Outside in the corner.
Robbie, you're nodding there, aren't you?
Yeah,
they could be.
Yeah,
We'll have to rate the odd
people
bunker.
would be calling up to ask if we're open.
They just drive up.
Yeah, canoeing in. Yeah, so those 3 weeks. So those are kind of the expenses, and then for us to make money, you have to make the cut. So if you miss a cut, you make nothing. Yeah. So and then it just filters down on how much. It depends what the purse is for each tournament. The winner usually gets about 15% of the total prize fund, and then it just works down from there.
I was just looking last week actually about the prize money, because I saw it wasn't a good time. So you missed the cut last week.
Yeah.
A week before, whatever it was. And I looked at the prize money, and the winner got 45,000, and the pot was 300,000. Yeah. And on the DWP, you could have come, I think, something like third, and got the whole fund. Yeah. And you just think,
so basically men's to women's, I'd just add an O. So it's 10 times as much money they play for. They play for average 3 million, we play for 300,000. But the other thing, Australia is 37% tax as well. Withholding tax is the worst place for it. As soon as you earn over 10,000 Oz dollars, you get 37% tax. And that's only if you're on the correct visa. If you're not, you get 45%. So not all of them are like that though. Most places are about 15 to 20%. Yeah.
That's crazy. Is prize money improving?
Slowly, yeah, but slower than it should be. So when I joined the tour, our average was probably 250. So we're talking about 13 years later, it's still 300. So in 13 years, it's gone up to 50. It hasn't increased. Not really, no. We've got more money, as in tournaments-wise, we've got more tournaments. So we now play the Aramco Series, which is Saudi-backed money. Yes. And they've upped them for this year, so that's now 2 million instead of 1. Yeah. So they're slowly growing, but I think they're soon to break away. There'll be a women's live, I think, coming probably in the next 12 to 24 months. Yeah. Wow. So just things are like pointing in that direction. Yeah. Suzanne Petterson's got a Saudi-backed management team, and she's signing players from different continents to kind of have that idea of a South African team, an Asian team, a European. Yeah. Kind of like how the men's live is. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
It's hard, because if someone came up to me and offered me that kind of money, I'm probably going to play live golf. Yeah.
I'd be pushing you.
So it's a tough one. You don't fully agree with it, but then the LET wouldn't have been afloat if we didn't have the Aramco Series these last 5 years. So it's a hard one to kind of juggle. Morally, it's not great, but then it's how I make a living. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one.
What, morally?
Morally, we won't go. Yeah, we try not. The abuse that we get while being in Saudi is not great. So we just try and stay off social media that week.
How hard is it to? Is it really that's a real thing?
Yeah. You get a lot of, and then you get a bit of management kind of training on, just not talking to them. But you get loads of articles sent on Instagram or your Twitter or whatever about things that the Saudis have done that week to journalists or women, or just a highlight which we kind of know about, but then it's totally out of our control. But then the other side of it, we were in a Starbucks, me, Trish Johnson, Becky Brewerton 3 years ago, and some Saudi ladies came up to us that were fully covered and were commenting on about how nice our outfit was and stuff, and started chatting, and we said we were playing golf and that they were going to come out and watch golf and stuff. So it's then like, actually you're there and you're kind of opening their eyes to a different lifestyle for women. So it's definitely changing. I think Saudi in 10 years' time will be Dubai. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And Russ and I came to see you in Play Spain this year, and even from a little while ago, it just seems to be better organised.
Yeah, it's growing. Yeah.
So becoming more professional.
Trying to get more people in to watch women's golf, because that's the hardest thing. Not loads of people watch women's golf. So And then what is the answer?
Do you see the crowds improving?
Slowly, yeah, but still nowhere near on the guys' level. But then it's what gets people in to watch women's golf. It's still kind of an unknown.
We just hit it further than that.
Well, no, we hit it similar, but we usually hit it a bit closer, and everything else is a lot better.
I love going to see, one, because you're there, but it's secondly, you are so close. It's the only comparable I can see is going to the senior gents golf, because there's lesser crowds. So to see really good golf and have no one around, for me, it's just a no-brainer. It's brilliant.
Yes, it's quite a spoil, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, it is.